What's going on, everyone? I hope you had an amazing day in the markets because we have a lot to talk about today. In today's video, we're going to be going over our top predictions about the market right now and the most important things that you need to know about. Going into tomorrow, there's key data coming out not only for PPI data, but also we have the FOMC minutes report. On top of that, we also are seeing some pretty big shifts in the market, so you better stick with us all the way to the end. But with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into today's episode.
Yeah, Mike, the market was pretty strong today. Pretty much from market open, we continued to move up all throughout the day, up until Biden started speaking about the Israel conflict. And then we kind of had a big pullback start to come in there to end the day. But it was actually a pretty good day for a lot of stocks across the board, like Square. There was a few stocks that had big jumps up. And I noticed that some of these beaten down stocks started really roaring back to life. Like Disney had a pretty good move again today as well. But then again, some of the defense stocks started pulling back a little bit more. So it was kind of like a kind of a mixed day, but it was good to see that good movement, at least at market open. I know, though, towards the end, it started to fall off a little bit more, but throughout the day, I would say it was overall pretty positive, and I saw a lot of bullish activity and a lot of people hitting on calls today, which was a good sign to see.
Exactly. And, some people will look at the market right now and, might be a little bit confused about why the market's rallying. But if you guys watched any of the videos from last week, you should not be surprised at all by this, because all we talked about all week long was interest rates and how they are so important to this market. Let's jump over to TLT for 1 second. In last week's videos, we said when TLT goes down in a quick and major way, that basically directly causes selling pressure into the markets. What are we seeing right now? TLT is not only moving higher, but it's moving higher in a relatively quick way. And what that essentially means is interest rates are lowering, right? And that's a good thing for the market, because when you have interest rates increasing in a violent way, it puts a whole lot of pressure into many different areas of the market and the economy. So basically what I'm saying right now is the way TLT is moving and the way that rates are falling is having a little bit of like a calming effect on the market, and definitely eases a lot of investors' fears. So keep a close eye on TLT, not only for tomorrow, but even for the next couple of weeks. The higher it goes, the more it eases, and the faster it falls, the more selling pressure it basically causes.
Yeah, and I'm kind of feeling like that Israel has been playing a pretty big role into some of these probabilities with the Fed. I know ever since the conflict broke out, we can see that the chance for a pause at the next meeting is at 86.4%. And we go out to the probabilities here, and if we zoom in a little bit and get the ad off of here, you can see how it actually says on here that there's only a 25% chance for a hike to 550 to 575 basis points in December, and pretty much the same thing for January. So these numbers were a lot higher after the last FOMC meeting. They were actually almost tilting this way, but they ended up kind of retreating and going way back towards a pause. And now I've actually been seeing a lot of times the easing should start in May, but it keeps flip-flopping around from May to June. But it just goes to show that those probabilities for a rate hike this year are going down, even though the Feds have been saying that. And I think that this Israel situation has been kind of pushing us that way, but it's really important to always talk about rates, Mike. They really drive the market, and especially lately, those yields and just the bond market in general has been just so much in focus, right? And when you go to TLT and you see it so low on a daily chart, you just can't help yourself but to say, like, we are just too overextended to the downside here, and it could be a pretty good play to the upside for the longer term and even the short term.
No doubt. And then jumping back over to SPY, or the overall market, on like a daily or weekly chart, just for a couple minutes, we can see that SPY has been in a pretty strong downtrend over the past couple months. And what's interesting is that over the past like 3 to 4 trading days especially, we have seen a pretty strong rally. And I saw some very interesting data going all the way back to World War II to today, showing that most of the bear markets end up ending or bottoming in October. And this happens more often than any other month by a very significant margin. 7 of, I believe the past 18 bear markets have ended up bottoming in October. And when you compare that to any other month, it's not even close.
Yeah, that is a huge disparity right here with October. I mean, look at this. May, June, August have 2. December has 2. And then October has 7. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And, this could come down to also just how bad September usually is, right? September usually sucks. So October is like that big recovery month for September kind of sucking here. So it's kind of cool to see it though, Mike. And I wouldn't be surprised if the market kept popping up here a little bit more. I love seeing the SPY on that kind of hourly or daily chart, seeing that move back to the upside. And, we talked a lot about this lower trend line right here. It got very close to falling under 420 with SPY. Now we're roaring right back above the trend line. And when you zoom out on a daily, it almost kind of seems like we hit it again. So I don't know how high we're going to get in the short term, but I'm definitely keeping 440 on watch for tomorrow. I think it's a very important level for SPY in the short term.
I do think that SPY will stay below like 445 in the short term. Over the past couple days, the market's been rallying in a pretty strong way. And, this happens after major sell-offs. But, looking at everything in the market, in the global economy, and just world events right now, it's pretty safe to say that the world ain't all sunshine and rainbows, especially right now. So yeah, I mean, like in the short term, I'm more neutral than anything else, but I think it's worth noting that in the past, when we've seen large drops, just like we saw over the past 2 months, it is pretty common to see, pops back to the upside that can last for, whether a couple days or even a couple weeks in certain situations.
Yeah, and I kind of marked some of these areas on the chart that you mentioned, Mike. Like 440 is huge here. You can see there was a nice hit last week. So for tomorrow, if you're a bull, that would be a great level to get to. And even for the next few days, like you said, 445 is a major right there. There's been a ton of hits. I would also doubt that we get back above there. So if you're a SPY trader, though, it was good momentum today, and we're coming into tomorrow on a slight pullback to the downside. I'm really curious if there's going to be more information come out overnight about Israel or something, though. You never know with these black swan events, Mike. They could always throw a big wrench into things.
You know it. Another thing that we have to talk about is the important data that is set to release tomorrow. So not only do we have the FOMC minutes report, but we also have PPI data set to release 1 hour before market open. This does have potential to move the markets, but between these two events, I would like to think that the FOMC minutes report at 2 p.m. Eastern time will be more important. Anytime we get any updates on, the status or thought process of the Federal Reserve, it always moves the market. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, and at the last meeting, it was the big headlines were that they were expecting, a rate hike this year, and I'm wondering if the minutes will kind of go back on that, and maybe some people will say, well, maybe we should have a rate hike, but it's not smart to do it, or something like that. I'm curious what they say in the minutes, because it kind of gives you that insight into exactly what they said. Powell always tries to sum it up for us, but as we know, those summaries can differ from what they actually talk about sometimes.
Exactly. And then on Thursday before market open, we have the inflation report with the CPI. So that will be exciting as well. And then, there's not really too much earnings action happening tomorrow, but as we get closer to the end of the week, we'll cover that and, how the big banks are officially kicking off earnings season. So great stuff there, Tom. But we also have to talk about some more world events that are happening right now, and they're not good, we'll say that. So basically there is potential for another armed conflict right now, in addition to what we're seeing in Ukraine and Palestine and Israel. Basically, between Kosovo and Serbia, violence is increasing there, and, some people are speculating there might be, a conflict there as well. Nothing is official as of yet, but it's just another bad thing to, just keep on your radar, because when things like this spring up, it just hurts everyone.
Yeah, and the world is just at it's at the boiling point, right? It's almost like the entire world right now. There's just so much tension going on between Ukraine. Now we have Israel, and it's just opening up like the door for more possibilities here because as there's more distractions, it just like allows these groups to do more and more things. And I'm curious to see how this ends up playing out with Kosovo, but hopefully these are just rumors, right? There was a clash on October 3rd between police and a couple of people, but it's not like, too bad yet. So let's hope that this doesn't boil over and end up getting as bad as like Israel or something. That could end up being a pretty bad situation. And, speaking of Israel, there was a pretty big speech by Biden today on that. It was kind of interesting. I know that the situation just keeps playing out. And, it's one of those things, Mike, that it always gets people really riled up, right? We just want to tell you guys like, hey, like, the past couple days have been the past couple days, right? But this plays a big role into stocks is why we keep bringing it up. Like, this is going to play a big role on the markets. Jerome Powell might walk back what he said on rate hikes because of this situation playing out, which will directly affect TLT. So, there's a lot that goes into this that can get really in depth and, it's just a very bad conflict. Let's hope there's no more.
Yeah, I mean, global conflicts, are obviously global and they affect everything in one way or another, whether it is interest rate decisions, whether it is oil prices, or even whether it is war stocks like we talked about yesterday. Those war stocks popped up more than any other area of the market. So always keep the global news in mind. But Tom, we're done with the boring stuff for now. Let's jump right into some setups and predictions for tomorrow. And one stock I'm watching very closely is ticker symbol BABA. Basically, Alibaba popped up in a pretty good way today as China announced some stimulus for their economy. A lot of China stocks moving in a good way, and China's kind of trying to pump their markets. And we know what happens when stimulus is added to the markets, especially over like the past couple of years. So I am going to watch BABA to the upside over the next couple of days.
Man, BABA has been really choppy the past couple weeks, Mike, but it's been awesome whenever it starts running up like this. I mean, that was a great day today, and even pre-market was fantastic. So I will definitely be keeping it on the radar. It was a badass play by the bot today. Make sure you guys stick around for that one as well. But with my next play, I'm going with Zoom, and I'm going back out to a daily chart setup that I've been watching for a long time. If you've been watching us for over the past couple months, I've been identifying this Zoom major support around $64. And what did we do the past couple days? We bounced right off 64 once again, and we've been staying in this below this overhead trend line for a while now. So I'm really watching Zoom as it starts to trade down into the bottom of this wedge. If we start to break out to the upside in a pretty good way, I will maybe look to fire some calls. I'm a shareholder of this one though. I've been buying it up down here around these lows, and I'll be watching it to see what it does over the next few days. But I love this momentum, Mike, out of these beaten down stocks like Zoom and Square and others.
All right, there we go. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is LCID, Lucid, one of those crazy EV stocks, and it had an 8% update today. It was moving with a purpose, and overall, it's bouncing off of a pretty strong support off of $5 a share. Very oversold in the grand scheme of things, and I think that the bullish risk-to-reward case right here is pretty good. So I will be watching it pretty closely.
Yeah, it's always cool to see these EVs start to go because they seem like they get a ton of momentum. Like you said, that was an insane run, 8% today. So I'll keep it on the radar for tomorrow too. Man, I gotta have Disney on the radar again, though. They are just not slowing down in the short term. Today wasn't necessarily as good as yesterday, but it was still a pretty bullish day overall. If they're able to break out above like $85.25, I'm going to go ahead and look at more calls on Disney tomorrow. But just keep in mind, if the overall market tanks down, then I probably won't play Disney to the upside. I'll probably look at SPY puts or something like that. But I do like Zoom and SPY up as long as we get that positive momentum coming back into these stocks again.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have NIO to the upside.
NIO, kind of like Lucid and almost like BABA since it's a China stock. If it breaks out above $8.90, go ahead and eye up those calls.
All right, with the next one, we have GLD also to the upside.
Yeah, gold. It was really cool to see them continuing to recover up with the markets, I guess we'll say. But go ahead and make them break 172.80. And this is a ETF that follows gold, of course.
All right, and note the last one, we have Netflix, but to the downside.
Yeah, NFLX, what happened to them today, Mike? The overall market did good, and Netflix said, see you later. But if they get under 372, then eye up the puts.
Alrighty, so we have that downside level for puts on Netflix, and then we have the upside levels for GLD and NIO tomorrow. So keep a pretty close eye on these three stocks. But it's now about that time for the big money $1 million trade of the day, and we are looking at ticker symbol ETSY, Etsy. I'm sure a lot of you guys know of or at least heard of this company. Basically, someone dumped over $1 million into the Etsy 70 strike call options that expire on November 17th of 2023. These call options are a little bit out of the money. They have some time to them. Etsy is, bouncing off this like $60 support in a pretty good way. You could say it's $61 to $62. It's pretty oversold in the grand scheme of things as well. And as long as it holds the support area, I think it will make for a pretty good setup. So keep a close eye on it.
Yeah, this Etsy support is huge. Like, I scroll out here and it's bounced off of here a lot of times in the past, and this was a major area back in 2019 and 2020 on this stock as well. And it looks like we actually we've seen a pretty good put debit spread coming in here on Etsy a little while ago too. So it's cool to see these different plays coming in on here. But now that it's low, I like this call setup. It's a shorter term play. It expires in about a month, which I like. I always am a fan of the shorter term ones, and this support looks really convincing on the chart. And with a lot of these beaten down stocks coming up, how could you not watch this? So I will definitely keep these calls on the radar, and they're going to be pretty enticing even. They're the 70 strikes, which I would actually go a little bit closer to the money than that. But hey, the 70 strikes actually aren't too far away and could probably pay out a little bit more.
Yeah, so keep a close eye on it going forward. But with everything being said right now, we are seeing some really, really good price action in the markets. The past 2 days have been pretty strong to the upside. And, the main thing when it comes to trading is, you shouldn't always be super set in your ways, whether you're bullish or bearish. At the end of the day, you have to trade the opportunities that the market gives you. So even though these past 2 days have been pretty bullish, the price action was pretty smooth. So keep that in mind. And if you're struggling to capitalize off this momentum, you got to check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Our bot today crushed it with Alibaba call options. Basically, it called out the Baba 86 strike calls at $158 each today, and by the end of the day they topped out at $229 each. Our SM bot also did a fantastic job. Some of its best plays of the day were some target call options for 150%, some Netflix put options for 123.5%, and even some end-phase call options for 109%. So if you want in on the action, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. You can also chat with Tom and myself all day long, as we are in this chat literally all the time, whether it is early mornings, late nights, weekdays, weekends, holidays, we're in here. So feel free to join the Stocked Up crew. It'll be that first link in the description in the comments down below. But with everything being said, Tom, do you have any final thoughts or anything else that's on your mind?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to use this as like a little bit of a learning situation here really quick. And I'm going to kind of go over maybe a quick play on Disney, just to kind of show people for tomorrow, like what we would kind of expect with some of these day trades. So like if it would be with Disney, like if you see a good move above 85.25, you see the market moving up. One important thing here is that you might want to place like a stop loss back under support. And it's very important, like whenever we look at these plays, like we're not just playing them if we just see him going up tomorrow, right? Like we got to see a solid break. We got to see that market moving up. And then you have to be able to calculate risk. Like do not hold this all day if it ends up being a fake out or something like that. Always manage that risk out there and keep that account, solidified for the longer term.
There we go. Last but not least, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Michael in the Stocked Up Discord. Thank you so much for all of your support and kind words, and just thanks for being a great member of the Stocked Up community. You've been in the chat for around 3 years now, and besides that, guys, let's have an amazing rest of the week. Thanks for watching.